sexuality isn't just vice ganda. There is a spectrum, there is width, and all of that also needs to be represented on film. So that's something I would like to be a part of. And it shouldn't be just a trend. I mean, there's a BL trend that seems
Mhm.
to be happening, and I'm
Yeah.
hearing a lot about it, and it's great that those stories are being told. Um, but yeah, I love Simon. I would love to do something like that.
Do you have some young actors in the Philippines that you would like to work on for that?
I don't know. I don't know everybody, but obviously it would have to be an actor who is comfortable playing a character like that. And hopefully this actor does not get stigmatized in the industry for playing a character like that. And it really needs to be surrounded by a cast, a crew, a writing staff, a director that have nothing but just big hearts and plenty of empathy, and and really good insight into how a movie like that can be created for this audience.
From Glitz PH, we have MJ De Leon. Hi, MJ. Kindly turn
Yes.
your camera on.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay, we see
Sorry. I'm
you.
sorry.
There
Hello.
you are.
Connection is kind of unstable. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. My question is for Leah. I'm sure,
Oops.
Miss Leah. I'm sure you've been asked this question a lot of times, but the movie revolves around illegal immigration, and my question is, have you had real encounters with illegal immigrants, and how was your experience?
um well, most of my family immigrated to the US and to Canada legally. um but yeah, I mean, there are whispers and there are hushed conversations about um who is who have a legal means of getting in, or who got in legally but overstayed. So may mga, I think everybody knows at least one person who has gone through that sort of immigration experience. I have a green card and I gained it via a pathway called being an alien of extraordinary ability, and my immigration lawyer um, took advantage of took advantage of that pathway, and so I was able to gain residency in the U.S. thanks to that, and thanks to Miss Saigon, because it was such a high-profile musical. Um, it didn't take too much convincing for immigration authorities to give me my green card, um, which I have to renew every 10 years. So So I mean, I guess everybody. It's hard to talk about illegal immigration because I don't want to out anybody.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think everybody knows at least one person that has been through this, and you understand the stress and the pressure and the fear, and it's very, very real. The fear of being discovered, the fear of getting found out, the fear of losing face if they ever get a deportation letter. um, so yeah, it's the fear is real, and it's very much portrayed in Yellow Rose. So I think a lot of Filipinos and Filipino Americans that have seen it recognize what that is and how real that is, and so are able to feel a great deal of empathy for what Rose and her mother have to endure, during the course of the film.
I see. Okay, thank you. My next question is both for Miss Leia and Miss Diane. The movie has been to a lot of international film festivals, and how does it feel that finally it's here in the Philippines and it will be shown in such an extraordinary time during the pandemic and quarantine path?
Okay, I'm gonna let Diane take this one.
Thanks, girl.
Go for it.
I am so thrilled. My brother and my sister-in-law and my nephews live there, and so many of my relatives live there. Everyone's really been waiting for this film to come out, but my goal in making this film was to make a Filipino American film, and so it really is a film that lives in between these two worlds and in its own world where those two meet. So I think it's just very exciting to present the film in the Philippines, and I hope people will find some sympathy for those relatives and for those friends who are abroad, and gain a little bit of insight of what's going on with them there. I think there's such a sort of maybe sometimes idealized version of what it's like when you come to America, and there is that experience, but for many, I almost might say most, it's not what you think. So, but at the same time, I want to keep stressing that the film is a family film. It's an uplifting film. It's a film that talks about the power of music and the power of empathy and the power of a community to come around somebody who is in stress. And it's like I said before, it is like A Star Is Born. So I do hope people embrace it. There was a lot of Lolas and Titas and young people and young women and young men crying a lot, Filipinos here in the States. So I hope they embrace it in the same way in the Philippines.
Can I just add, I think one of the things that was really touching when we were touching and also very real was that when we were showing the film at these festivals, or even Diane and I went to a theater on opening weekend, we actually, some people would come to us after the screening and confidentially tell us that they too were undocumented. And that when they saw this story on screen, they felt that their story was reflected. They thought that they felt that their challenge was very validated and seen, and not just something that was swept under the rug here in the States. So whenever we were in those situations, that we were able to connect with the people who this story was not, I don't want to say meant for, but portrays. I thought that was a very real moment, and I hope that that's also something that people will be able to uncover and learn more after they watch the film.
I see. Thank you. VJ, am I allowed a third question?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick one from Ms. Lea, because I saw the reviews and the music in the film is mostly country. I'm kind of curious, what are your personal feelings towards country music?
I think there has been actually a lot of country music that's made it to the Philippines. I mean, we know who Kenny Rogers is. We know who Dolly Parton is.
Mhm.
I mean, they are iconic. I mean, I remember hearing Crystal Gale's voice as a young kid. So, and I think Olivia Newton-John has won a Grammy for country music. So, and she was one of my major influences as a vocalist. So, I guess in a weird way, I've listened to it without realizing that I was listening to it. Music was just always music. If I liked it, full stop. That was it.
Mhm.
The music in the film, I think it's music that people will relate to. It's beautiful. It's heartfelt. It's real. It's not always pretty, but neither is life. So, and everything that Eva sings in the film, in her character's journey to be a country music singer, um, it's heart on sleeve sort of music. And I mean, that's what I know it to be. I remember, what movie did I see? Coal Miner's Daughter. I remember being brought to the cinema to watch Sissy Spacek playing Loretta Lynn. And and it was a huge hit. And I remember just being bowled over and loving the music in that. So I think a lot of folks here that do love music will fall in love with the music here and will, and as American as country music is, it's such an American genre. I think folks here, with our music being so characteristically heart on sleeve as well, I think we'll be able to really dig the music in the soundtrack and dig the music in the film.
I see. Okay. BJ, sorry, just one last for Miss Leia, because in her Inquirer column backstory, she wrote with a column titled Silver Linings. You wrote about how to be your own recording engineer, cameraman, and lighting designer during the quarantine and pandemic. Would love to know more about it.
Well, without taking too much of your time, it's basically you start to thank you to YouTube for all of the tutorials that are available. I mean, I learned how to like myself for doing a lot of the self-made recordings. Thanks to technology for advancing the selfie cameras to be as amazing as they are. I mean, I'm using my laptop now, but when I film using my cell phones, it's like it's broadcast quality, and there are apps where you can change, your FPS. It's like, what? You can change your frames per second with your selfie camera. And the quality then becomes much more cinematic. And there are people who on streaming platforms that have made full-length movies with their iPhones. It's
With their iPhones.
nuts. It's nuts at what is possible is crazy. But I have had to learn how to use my cameras for that. I have had to learn, because I've had to record a few spoken and sung projects here at home in my closet. So I've had to learn how to use GarageBand and Logic. And yeah, so I have a greater respect for the people that have to do all of these things professionally. Cinematographers, directors of photography, recording engineers, sound designers. It's like you gain a greater appreciation for what they do and a greater understanding of what it is that they do. So it's much more easy to empathize with folks in their creative fields that are very different from my own. So yeah, so this is why there are Oscars given to these people. This is why they have to deserve and win these awards, because it's a difficult job. It's a difficult field, and for people like our DP on Yellow Rose who made it just look so easy. But when I saw the film, I was like, what? And it was a handheld, he was holding the camera, and he just made it look like it was nothing. And then I see the finished product and I'm like, oh my God, he is fantastic. Just, and used a lot of natural light and, and stuff in silhouette, stuff using the sun. So we were always chasing the sun, I think, when we were filming this, unless it was indoors. But yeah, he was fantastic. And yeah, Diane can tell you more about him, but yeah, I gained a greater respect for what folks like him are able to do.
Okay, thank you,
I
everybody.
just want to shout out to August Thurmur, who is our cinematographer. He is incredible. It's another reason I hope to watch the film. It is a beautifully shot movie.
Yeah, me personally, I'm really excited to watch this film. Congratulations, everybody, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, MJ De Leon of Glitz PH. And now we have time for, I think, two more. What's up, PH? We have Alessandra Pandez.
Hi everyone. Hi BJ.
Hi.
So my
Hello.
question goes for Miss Lea Salonga. So my first question is, since you worked with Miss Ava in this movie. How's the feeling working with her? And are you looking forward to share the stage with her in the future?
I'll answer the second question first. Yes, absolutely. Um, I think it would be fun, and it's nice being my age now and working with someone like her. Um, I mean, obviously, I don't have to teach her anything. I don't have to show her anything because she is carving a very unique path for herself. As for what it was like to work with her on the film, um, she is so natural and such an easy emotional presence on screen. And this girl works hard. She worked with a dialect coach to get that accent right and had a lot of questions about how to get the accent right. Um, so, there were a lot of details that she would put into her performance, and she paid attention to so many of them and really tried to infuse her performance with a lot of authenticity. Um, Even if it meant getting out of her comfort zone in order to really truly inhabit this character. Um, so knowing that that is how she works, I think she will always be exciting to cast in whatever film or musical or play that she ends up working on next. So it was a lot of fun working with her.
So my last question is Leia. What do you want the people to get from Yellow Rose?
Um, what I'm hoping audiences will get from this is maybe a greater level of empathy for folks going through an experience that we can only imagine, that we have no actual experience in. Um, I'm hoping that folks see her for the person that she is and not just as an undocumented immigrant. That we are able to help people like her transcend that label, in order to fulfill their potential. And that is what Rose shows in the movie, that she is this emotional, headstrong, talented, intelligent human being. And ultimately, that's what anybody wants to be seen as a human being, um, and not just with a label, which kind of is dehumanizing. And I think Diane was successful in really lifting that aspect of it, and for us to see the undocumented as people. So I think that's what I want folks to come away with a greater empathy for what a large part of the population is actually going through.
Thank you so much, Miss Leia, and congratulations in
Thank
advance
you.
for the
Thank you very
film.
much.
I have
Thank you. I think Cecilia also has something to add.
Well, actually, as Leah was talking, I was thinking about this. What I'm hoping for the Filipino audience is to see the Filipino American experience in a different way. I think, there's just been, I'm second generation. My parents immigrated here. Jeremiah, Diane, and we all are born here. But we go back to the Philippines often. I know that for most of us, we don't feel quite Filipino when we go home because we grew up here. And then here in America, we don't feel quite American because obviously we don't look like what people say Americans look like. So what I'm hoping, always hoping for Yellow Rose was that when it got to the Philippines, it would depict at least some part of what our Filipino American experience is. Obviously, it's different for all of us, but just open that door between our storytelling in the Filipino American community and the Filipino community, so that we can have more of that synergy. So I'm hoping that kind of lands in the Philippines, and I think it will. The music, I think, alone,
Yeah.
and then even
Also to add, because Cecilia touched on a point where, you know, there is you have this preconceived notion of what American is supposed to look like. And Filipinos tend to not fit into a box. I remember when I was a kid, if you were an American, for me, it was either you were white or you were black. That was what I knew. When in actual fact, to be an American means you are, there's a spectrum. You can be, descended from an immigrant family that came in from Ireland or Russia or Poland or Germany. You can be descended from, and this is from my experience of having worked on other shows, from a Japanese, from a Japanese immigrant family, or from a Filipino immigrant family, or Chinese, or you'll look like the Vice President of the United States, where she is Black and South Asian. And so to look like an American is to basically be literally any color. It's the one thing that's interesting about, say, being a Filipino, where it's not necessarily what you look like that identifies you as a Filipino. It's how you sound. There's either a cadence with how you speak. It's a carriage with how you carry yourself. I don't know what it is, but it's like when I'm in the US, and it doesn't matter if it's mestiza or morena or what, it's like that person is descended from Filipinos. It's just something that you can quite easily identify. And yeah, so that's something I hope will be an experience for the United States as well, that you can say I'm an American and nobody will even flinch at you having been being a descendant from Filipino immigrants, and you say, yeah, I'm an American, and then full stop, that's it. No one will ask the question, no, where are you really from? That's a question I hope nobody ever has to ask anymore.
Yeah, can I just, so with what Lea and Cecilia just said, I think, so in addition to being a co-producer on the film, I also led the PR and marketing during our run. And I think one of the biggest challenges that I faced was to convince people and audiences and even the media here in America of the value of talking about Filipinos and our experiences. I think we're still relatively unknown in terms of what our history is here in America. And so I think films like Yellow Rose, and I'm working on some great initiatives with Mixed Global, for example. We're trying to get a lot more Filipino stories in the mainstream media, a lot of the Filipino talent that they represent. I think that's critical moving forward. I think we have a responsibility to make sure to let people know, especially the masses who aren't as familiar with our culture and our immigration story. I think we have a responsibility to let them know, like, hey, we're Filipino, we're also American, like, this is our story and it's as valuable as anybody else's.
Thank you. We're learning so much just with this media conference, but more when we see the film. Now we are down to our last one. There are many friends from the media who want to ask more, but unfortunately we have limited time with Ms. Lea, the director and producers. So now to wrap up this Q&A, let's go back to Manay Ethel Ramos. Manay Ethel. Kindly ask your last question. Hello po. Tita Ethel, are you there?
Tita Ethel,
So
are you
while
there?
we are waiting for Manay Ethel, I would just like to remind everyone that the Philippine premiere of Yellow Rose is happening on January 28th. And we have Tita Ethel with us.
And
Hello
she's back.
po.
And she's back.
Lea,
Yes,
ang
Tita.
itanong ko sa'yo, if you are not the lucky Lea Salonga that you are now, but belongs to the Filipinos na talagang desperate na mag-improve ang buhay, would you consider
Would I consider what?
taking the risk of migrating to the US, and why?
If I wasn't who I was, would I migrate? I don't know. I actually don't know. That's not a question I ask myself, that if life hadn't happened for me in the way that it did. Um, I honestly don't know. I was living quite a nice life. I had a college life. I had friends. Um, I really don't know that I would have taken the immigrant route. I probably would have stayed, but obviously, my destiny had other plans, and so off I went. Yeah, I actually don't know. Hindi ko alam kung yun nga yung pipiliin kong landas if I wasn't who I was who I am now. I don't know. It's something that I probably would have to think long and hard about. My knee jerk answer would be I don't think I would have, but it's really hard to say because life takes on twists and turns, and life could have happened in a very different way as well, and I might have had to make that decision. So I don't really know. I hope that's a satisfactory answer.
Thank you very
Kat.
much. How about the director? The director, given the choice, would you rather have been, have been born and stayed here in the Philippines rather than, in the US? I direct
Oh,
Diane.
that's a good question. It was a difficult upbringing. I grew up in a small Texas town, which is where the story came from, and I definitely felt like I didn't belong, and I had different forms of racism growing up, but ultimately I do love America. I mean, it's where I grew up, and that's kind of the whole point of the film, is that it's what I know, and yet I love the Philippines. And like I said, my brother lives there and has raised his children there, and actually did the opposite. He moved to the Philippines to work for Dick Gordon and married Ali Gordon, who's my sister-in-law. So he did the opposite. So we were raised with a lot of pride for being Filipino, and we were raised to never forget where we came from and feel very proud of it. And I think the film is a reflection of that. So I don't think so. I think I would stay here, but have more of a connection back home, which I do. I go back a lot.
My last question, Direct. Would you consider doing a film here, and who would you want to have for stars? Are you open? Ano ka?
I'm actually writing a film that's set in the Philippines as my next original script. So I will be working there, and I hope to hint, maybe work with Lea again. And I just want to say one thing about working with Lea in this movie. I think she's right. She has not just gotten better as an actor, but I think she has, you're very comfortable in yourself. And I think that came with age. That spotlight was on you at such a young age that you've taken it so gracefully as you've gone through the ups and downs of your career. And it shows, and you have a refinement about you. You have access points to very complicated emotions. And I think you are actually just as fine a film actress as you are a stage actress. And I hope you do.
Thank you.
As a director, I felt it was so easy to work with you, and you were able to access so many things very comfortably and very naturally. And there's an intelligence about you and a complexity about you that I would like to explore in other projects. So I kind of had we had a little bromance, sistermance with me and Lea, and I know that I want to continue that. But yes, my next film is set in the Philippines, and I hope to have a mostly Filipino cast. It's set in World War II, and it's a big, ambitious project. So I'm hoping it'll be a joint production. And lastly, I want to and I don't know how much I have publicly said this, but I want to really thank ABS-CBN and you know, I talked a lot about how long it took for me to make the film, and only ABS-CBN was the one to step forward and give us the opportunity to make this movie. So I support what ABS is going through right now. And this particular movie would not have been made without their support and without their directive of wanting to put the Filipino film on a world stage. And, you know, the fact that we've been, you know, entered into the Academy Awards, even that alone, to be submitted by a major Hollywood studio, I hope they feel, you know, they put their money in the right place. But I'm forever grateful to them, and I support them wholeheartedly. And I would not have made this movie without them.
Direct Dayan, siguro naman may leading man na doon, ano? May
Leading
leading
man.
movie mo, oo.
They have
I
to
don't-
audition for her. They have to
Yes.
be. They
I
have
don't
to
know
all
yet.
go through the eyes of the needle before they're
Yes.
cast in this. Kasi
Yes.
maraming magagaling, pero kung sino talaga yung mga babagay sa mga naisulat niya, that remains to be seen. I think we have a lot of talented people here in the Philippines, so I'm pretty confident that she'll be able to cast the entire cast or most of them from here, but it's who's right for the project. And I don't think Diane knows everybody, but she will, once her script is done and there's financing and there's producing and there's a concrete plan to make it, then we can start talking about kung sino mga artistang pwedeng sumali at kung pwedeng isali sa pelikula. It's still too early in the game to be thinking of casting.
Maraming magaganda ngayon, mga younger ones ngayon sa ABS.
Marami. Yun na nga eh. Maraming mga magagaling, mga magaganda, mga guwapo, na talagang may something talaga na pwedeng ipagmalaki. So, but that's not the issue. The issue is who's bagay for it. So she's gonna have to see a lot of people to find the right ones.
Lea, last question for you.
Yes, Tita.
Will you allow your daughter to do this?
That's really up to her. I don't know. First of all, her Tagalog has to improve because it's non-existent. There is that. But I don't know. I mean, she wants to have a theatrical career. She loves musical theater. She loves theater. She also writes and she draws. So she's definitely a creative person. But how that creativity will eventually manifest into her adult life, there's so much that's up in the air for what she wants to do. So all I can do as her mom is help her to figure it out, to facilitate how she can get better at what she wants to do, and to be as supportive a parent as I can be for her. That's really all anybody can do. So, 14 lang siya eh. So, marami pang mangyayari sa buhay niya that will determine her eventual fate and path in life.
Thank you, Lea. Thank you, Direk.
Thanks, Tita.
Thank you.
Thank
The
you.
legendary Manay Ethel Ramos. Thank you so much. Now, before we go, any last messages for everyone? Let's start with Miss Diane Paragas.
Yes, just please come out and see the film, or stay in and see the film. I do think it's something that we've talked a lot about politics on this press conference, but it's a story of hope. It's a story of perseverance, and it's a story about music. So it's a quintessential American story and a quintessential American independent film that has a Filipino cast. So we hope you give it a chance.
How about the producers? Let's hear from Cecilia.
Yeah, well, stay in and be safe when you watch. Hopefully your nose doesn't bleed since all of it is in English. But what I do really hope is that when you do watch it, we kind of form this. The Koreans are really doing a great thing in cinema and media, and I hope that our time comes as Filipinos, that we get recognized in that same way. So hopefully this is not just the beginning of it, because I know it started a long time ago, but this is a continuation of it, and that we keep supporting Filipino and Filipino American filmmakers.
Yes, let's go. Jeremiah?
I think I just really hope that people can connect with the heart of this film and the heart of these stories and all the universal themes. Like if you can't connect to the immigration part, for example, there's something for everybody. There's the relationship of mom and daughter. There's pursuing your dreams and being very determined to achieve your goals and just being really true to yourself. And I think one of the big things that we're hoping that this film accomplishes is that it helps Hollywood see that our stories, again, are valuable and that they end up making more Filipino stories. I think the more support we get for Yellow Rose and films like Yellow Rose, the more you'll see Filipino faces on the big screen. So please come support, tell your friends, follow us on social, and I hope you enjoyed the film.
I felt the PR and marketing side of you there. Okay, now let's go to Miss Lea.
Okay, first of all, to our friends in the media, to our friends from the press, maraming salamat sa inyong support. Thanks for coming today, and thanks for joining us. And hopefully you share the passion we have for this film. I'm extremely excited for Filipino audiences to see it and to see Eva just be a superstar and to see Princess Punsalan, and I think her first film in a very long time. And she is exactly what you remember her to be. She is fantastic. She's a faucet because she always has been. She is a wonderful, huge presence with her heart in this movie. And I'm hoping that people will get to see it and experience, and to see the less glamorous side of immigration, that it's not always a bed of roses for many kababayans who want to try their luck in another country. There is hardship, there is sacrifice, there is suffering, and there are many tears. And hopefully in Rose's journey, you are able to find hope and empathy. So please open your hearts to her and please support the movie when it comes out. It's going to have a premiere on the 28th on ktx.ph. I think tickets should be available already. And then on the 29th, it's on I Want TFC, Signal Pay-Per-View, and Sky Pay-Per-View. So stay in, stay safe, make sure you have Kleenex nearby, and enjoy the film.
Thank you, Miss Lea. And yes, as Miss Lea said, the tickets are now available to be purchased. And there is a special premiere night on January 28th. That's happening only on ktx.ph. But you can still watch the whole film on I Want TFC, Sky Cable Pay-Per-View, and Signal Pay-Per-View starting on January 29th. But I hope you can all join us on the premiere night on the 28th. So thank you so much for joining us here at the Yellow Rose Media Conference. Again, joining us from New York, the producers Jeremiah Abraham and Cecilia Mejia, the director Diane Paragas, and of course Miss Lea Salonga from the Philippines. Thank you so much, and to all of our friends from the media, thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day, guys. See you on the premiere. Bye.
Art card